Hello there, Internet. My name is Mogwai, and ahead of us lies yet another brilliant day in the arena. And starting today, we're going to do things a little bit differently, as we are less than 3 weeks away from the new expansion in Bloom Barrow for Standard. It's going to be released in July 13th, and with it comes rotation. I've mentioned rotation in the past. Standard rotates every year. The gap has been increased since the last time I played 4 to 5 years ago, so Standard is bigger than it used to be, but rotation is still happening every year, and the latest 4 expansions are going to be rotated, or the oldest 4 expansions are going to be rotated out of Standard. So I wanted to share a deck built around ATRAXA, which is one of the prime win conditions within Standard, especially for late game greedy decks. And I'm going to give you guys a rotation proof version of this deck. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, oh my god, ATRAXA, you were supposed to be edgy and hipster and cool, like you're playing this broken ass card. Cry me a river. You have no right to say this if you play mono red aggro. I'm just gonna say that. You know, yes, I'm playing a very powerful card. Yes, there could be an argument, there could be a world in which ATRAXA does end up getting banned in the future in Standard. We'll have to wait and see how well she adapts after her main deck is getting axed by rotation. Why is her main deck getting axed by rotation? If you go to the Streets of New Capena, one of the 4 expansions that are going to rotate in less than 3 weeks from now, July 30th, this specific expansion provides you with a bunch of very key lands. I don't know why I can't. Oh, it's because I don't own them. Okay. I didn't bother crafting them because they're going to rotate. But Zayatora's Proving Ground, Jetmir's Garden, Sparrow's Headquarters. You know, you got a bunch of them. These are 3. These are called the I don't know what the exact name. The Capena lands, the Tri-lands. These lands are very, very special because they allow you to tap for 3 different colors. And they also have the types of basic land types. So every one of these is like, this is a plains, island, swamp. There's an island, swamp, mountain. You know, they all have the basic land associated with the mana that they're providing with, which is important because it allows them to synergize with cards like Leyline Binding, which is a really strong source of removal that I also, I do have actually, yeah. Which is this one right here. I mean, you probably recognize it for this art instead. This card will not be rotating, but it synergizes with those lands specifically. So because they're losing those lands, amongst other things, the most popular variations of ATRAXA decks are going to be axed. This one will not. And this is a deck that I've tested on the ladder, and I have climbed through ranked with. I have a very strong win rate with it. And I put a lot of thought into predominantly the mana base for this, because that's where this deck gets really tricky. But this is a deck built around ATRAXA. For those of you who don't know, real quick TLDR, ATRAXA is a very powerful, one of the most powerful cards in Standard. 7 mana, Witch, Legendary, Phyrexian Angel, which is the term associated with green, white, blue, and black. Dune is also, fun fact, another name associated with a different 4-color combination, but the reason I call this deck Dune is because we're playing with deserts. I didn't realize afterwards. ATRAXA is a 7/7 with Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Pretty scary. Can be removed for 2 mana. What's the big deal? The big deal is the upon entry effect. It allows you to reveal the top 10 cards of your library, and then you can choose 1 card of each type and put it into your hand. So in a deck like this, for example, we don't have artifacts, but we have pretty much almost every other card type. We're going to be able to draw 5 cards easily with ATRAXA. Specific cards that we pull out of these top 10, by the way. We can pick up an instant, a sorcery, a creature, an enchantment, and we can call it a day. And a land, of course. So ATRAXA provides you with tremendous card draw that can be very difficult. The card advantage that she gives you by just entering on the board can be very hard for the opponent to come back from. And generally, when you play ATRAXA and you stabilize with ATRAXA, you're on your way to winning the game. This is a control deck, ladies and gentlemen. This is a reactive deck. We're trying to stay alive. We're incorporating some ramp elements into it. We're trying to hit that 7 lands, drop ATRAXA, or breach the multiverse to bring ATRAXA in and win the game. That's quite simply the game plan. How do we get there? How do we not die until we get there? Well, that's where the rest of the deck's design comes into play. We have, this is a deck that is essentially white, blue, green, and black, but in reality, at its core, like, it's essentially, it's pretty much a Golgari deck. It's a Golgari deck with ATRAXA. So most of our sources of mana are either green or black, as you can see in those numbers right there. And the rest of our deck is one of these two colors. And then we try to accommodate some colors so that we can potentially cast ATRAXA from hand on turn 7 without problems. So our early game removal is Bitter Triumph, Desert's Dew, because we're running a lot of deserts. This card can become really, really efficient removal, very reliable. Go for the Throat, and then Assassin's Trophy to deal with some permanents that may be problematic, like certain like big artifacts or enchantments. I like having this as a one-off. We have these removals alongside the 2 Lockwing Scorns potentially from the Virtue of Persistence, and all of a sudden our entire turn 2 is revolving around being able to kill creatures. Very important if we run into mono red aggro to have as many removals as we have right here, so that way we can stay alive while we also focus on ramping as well. Then we hit turn 3. We want to be ideally playing Spelunking, because the Spelunking, the last line of this text says your lands that you control enter the battlefield untapped. This is very important because the vast majority of our lands are actually tapped lands. So once Spelunking is on the board, not only are we ramping with Spelunking because we can play a land card from our hand after we play it, we also essentially from that point onwards get to play our tapped lands untapped and thus not lose out on the tempo associated with them. Because the benefits of playing these tapped lands is we get multiple colors out of them, and they are deserts. Because they're deserts, they synergize super, super well. Not a coincidence, by the way, with the card from the Desert expansion. The Free Strider Lookout, 3 mana human rogue with a 3/3 stat line and reach. Whenever we commit a crime, we look at the top 5 cards of our library, we pick a land, and we put it onto the board. Spelunking is on the board, that land enters the board untapped. Free Strider Lookout, the crime triggered ability is enabled by the deserts, because the deserts do target the opponent to deal 1 damage, so they automatically proc the Free Strider Lookout and allow us to start ramping. We also have Map the Frontier, which allows us to, for 4 mana, search for up to 2 basic land cards or desert cards and put them onto the battlefield tapped. Again, turn 3 Spelunking, turn 4 Map the Frontier, stonks, because we get to play these deserts out of our deck. We get to find specific colors that we need for ATRAXA, like we can go for the Forlorn Flats, the Soured Springs, the Heath here. We got several different sources of white and blue spread out across these deserts that allow us to effectively cast ATRAXA, and Map the Frontier and Free Strider Lookout can help us find those specific colors. So this deck very consistently, without a problem, is able to cast ATRAXA on curve, despite, well, on curve, despite the fact that the vast majority of our land sources in our deck is actually Golgari. So we have Deadly Cover-Up for a board wipe, especially against mid-range matchups. Being able to completely clear the board is really, really important. As then, we have a one-off of Cease and Desist as a tech card against artifact and enchantment-driven decks, but also against graveyard-centric decks as well. And of course, like I mentioned, Breach the Multiverse and ATRAXA, aka our I Win the Game cards. So one of the neat things is with Spelunking, we have access to the Sunken Citadel. Like for the remainder of the deck tech, I'm going to be talking about the land distribution. Basically, we got removal, ramp, board clear, and then game-winning play. So how do we enable this with our land structure? Like I said, most of our lands are untapped, and this are into the board tapped. Rather, I'm labeling the wrong way. Like most of our lands are tapped lands, and this can be really, really problematic for us, because we can play 1 turn. We can end up in a situation where we're playing 1 turn behind our opponent every time. So in order to mitigate that, we do have a total of 9 untapped lands that we want to be playing on turn 3. So that includes a full set of the Blooming Marsh, 2 copies of Land of Our Waste, the basic Forest to also make sure that we don't die to Field of Ruin, and a couple of copies of the Cavern of Souls. These cards will enter the board untapped regardless, and we preserve them for turn 3 so we can play the Spelunking on curve. That varies though, because if we're facing something like mono red aggro, we want to be playing these untapped lands on turn 2 so that we can develop our removal by then. Very, very important. We can play our removal on turn 2, we can play our tap land on turn 3, remove again on turn 3, and then on turn 4 we start ramping. Right, like you have to adapt to the matchup. For the caves that we showcased, the caves synergize with Spelunking because they gave us 4 life, and the Sunken Citadel is there to essentially help us cast ATRAXA, but also potentially enable us to trigger and summon the Restless Cottage or transform it rather, for 1 less mana, because the Sunken Citadel will provide us 2 mana of a chosen color that we can spend to activate the ability of lands, right? So we have that with that. Restless Cottage can become in itself a win condition in this deck because we're getting our lands out and we're able to push a lot of damage with this. It can be really good in control matchups too. Cavern of Souls is there to make sure we can play ATRAXA in control matchups and not have it countered, while also we always select Phyrexian with this, or Angel, whatever you want. Just make sure it applies to ATRAXA. And then you can play her without having to worry about her being counterspelled, but also is an untapped land that can be really clutch to allow us to make our 3 mana plays that only require one specific color to be played on turn 3. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the deck list right there. Went a little bit over 10 minutes, but you know, there's quite a lot to talk about. And it is a 100% rotation-proof Golgari variation of an ATRAXA ramp control deck, and it's really good. It really is. It wins. It puts in the work. And if you're a fan of this more like a late game sort of play style, and you like chaining lands, it's really fun to chain these deserts, then this is the deck for you. And you don't have to worry about rotation happening and you not being able to play it anymore. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering Arena content. We're going to be showcasing rotation-proof decks from here onwards until the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. Love you. Have a solid day. Enjoy the matches. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, here we go. You know, fun fact, Dune is actually one of the 4 color combinations in Magic. It's the name that it has, Dune. I think it's Ink, Dune, Witch. I forgot the other 2. I remember Ink because Ink is ink, but it doesn't have black, which is kind of... Ink is like white, red, blue, and green. I don't remember what Dune was. I think Dune may have been like blue, red, green, and black. What I do know is that Dune is not the color combination that we're playing. We're actually Witch. Which I guess is fitting. We have an untapped land, which is really important. We don't have too many of those actually in this deck, so... that was pure tilt. Okay. Okay, Shrimzor. They're still playing with like no cards. All right. Well, just in case, I'm gonna enable my removal. Okay, so before they're able to do that, I'm gonna seize and I'm gonna get rid of the Undead Butler. Because Insidious Root comes in now and does some nasty things. Unfortunately, Spelunking is not something that I can play now because I enabled that land turn 2, and a lot of times when I enable it turn 3 for Spelunking. So they mulliganed really heavily, but Insidious Roots is really dangerous. Spelunking, though, allows us to really get going. We're going to develop the Arid Archway. We're going to return this to our hand. We're going to surveil away ATRAXA, put her in our graveyard. And I'm going to play the Forlorn Flats. Very pretty land, by the way.
Whoever slays the most Phyrexians wins. We're in this together. So long as evil
I'm going to get rid of Tavar.
so will
Their endgame is scary, but so is ours. Map the frontier. I'm gonna search for 2 deserts. In case we want to cast ATRAXA, let's bring in the blue as well. And now our Desert's Dew is removal machine. -7 for 2 mana. This person legit mulligan like crazy because they believe this Insidious Roots game plan doesn't need much to go off, which, and they're not wrong. But I'm gonna remove those plants. I'm gonna keep this one here. And I think we're gonna have a scoop. Some decks can really afford hyper-aggressive mulligans like this one, because once the Insidious Roots gets going, like, it doesn't really matter how little mana you have, like, you can really just go crazy. I don't want to mill them, though, so I'm going to play ATRAXA directly. I'm going to get Breach the Multiverse, I'm going to get Pit of Offerings, great land here, and that's it. Actually, Pit of Offerings isn't a great land here, because it will trigger their Insidious Roots. Let's keep it simple. Cool combo there. I'm gonna keep focusing on removing these plants. I don't have to hyperfixate on card advantage here. I just gotta do what I gotta do. Now I'm gonna mill them. They're probably gonna love it, but I'm gonna mill them anyways. Because I gotta bring my quality out here. What about Tivar? Do we have stuff to return with Tivar? I don't think so. We don't have like 2-drop like creatures. So I guess the first... I mean, this triggers... No, it has to be Tivar. Because otherwise, we trigger the Insidious Roots. There we go. I mean, beating a guy who mulliganed like 4 times, not a huge feat. You know, it's nice to start off with a win, but... I guess we gotta be a little bit humble about it. Because, yeah, they mulligan like crazy, and, you know, even though Insidious Roots is a deck that can get away with that, they still have to mulligan like a million times. And we have a 2-lander here, but we have double removal, Seize Desist. Assassin's Trophy is not something we're going to be playing on early. Like, this hand is missing quite a bit, but we have such high land density. We have 27 lands. So the chances of us drawing a land is 47% here. Greedy Freebooter, okay. We do find an untapped land, which is really important. Very good to have. And we're going to go ahead and enable that. No. We choose Phyrexian for ATRAXA. We get hit here. We can definitely expect them to have removal for our free Strider Lookout. So we're gonna hold back. They definitely have removal. Like, most of their hand is removal, so we gotta keep that in mind. Look at that. I mean, this thing could be problematic later, because it can morph later, so I'm just gonna get rid of it now. And now we're going with the free Strider Lookout into the Festering Gulch, which will trigger a crime. And we miss a land. You've got, with 27 lands in our deck, at least we shuffle that away, but that is insane. That is crazy. That is magic. Thankfully, we got you. Thankfully, we got you. What colors are we missing? We can go with a blue. And then with a good old festering hulch. We can't go wrong with that. Double ping. And Restless Cottage. We got all the lands in the world. Now we just need to not die to 2 greedy freebooters. Fuck it. Virtue Persistence. Let's make the big boy plays. They could definitely have removal for it. But the removal could also be limited to creatures. Bring you back. Spelunking. And now we're gonna go for the Restless Cottage. We missed to have something to resurrect. So I'm not gonna get rid of that. Like that is having this in the graveyard is extremely valuable. It makes my Virtue of Persistence very, very problematic. And they have so little mana compared to me that I'm just not afraid of their tempo output here, even with the treasure. Oh, but it's night. It's night, so he doesn't trigger. I totally knew that. I'll go green. Now I will get rid of that. We fill up their graveyard. They get to ramp. But we have plays. They got rid of that. Which sucks, but we're at a point where we just want to find ATRAXA. Like, this Virtue of Persistence was nice. But it wasn't really actually doing much for us here. I could heal up a little bit. What I think I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be going for C's. I mean, this is a good play, but I kind of like really value the card draw now because I am searching for a specific card, either ATRAXA or the other one. And they're really debating here. Okay, they took like 2 minutes. I'm gonna sacrifice my food, get back up there in health. We're gonna spelunking again to draw a card, but also playing this Sunken Citadel. There you are. We got a bunch of stuff there. There we go. Breach the multiverse! We don't find the ATRAXA, but we do find... What the hell? A billion critters. That's what we find. Any crime? No? It's day. And down goes Shieldred. I mean, I will block this. Oh, great. I'm gonna play Deadly Cover-Up. And I'm also going to get rid of all their Fairy Dream Thieves. Take a look at their deck. See what's left. They have Rite of Oblivion. They have a lot of removal, Resurrection, Gix. Shitty win conditions, if you ask me. But all these fairies, out of here. These Sunken Citadels will allow me to play this cottage for almost nothing. We swing. We exile their Shieldred to the oven. And at the end of their turn, we trigger their Colossal Rattleworm, which will allow us to fish for a desert. I was about to draw ATRAXA. Oh, mega lol. And we deal with you. Even though they have a Virtue of Persistence there, this pretty much solidifies our win, regardless of what we draw. We will play this just in case. But we got enough to double up here. And we're just going to beat them down with our lands. Because the ATRAXA just did not want to show up this game, but it's fine. It's so fine. The rope. That's more of a chain, but whatever. Okay. Try to keep hands with, you know, with a good amount of lands like this. But also untapped land, very important. I say that a lot, but it's rare in this deck, and it's something that you really gotta value. As we can lead off with the Restless Cottage, and we're gonna be setting up for Spelunking. Spelunking into Map the Frontier, gonna be pretty stonks, but we cannot play Cavern of the Souls until turn 3 because of that. As much as I want to be able to deal with that, I'm gonna let it live. We got Desert Dues. We have to use our life as a resource. We have to be able to take a few hits first and get our game plan going. Because once we do, we're unstoppable. But turn 3 Spelunking, keeping a 4-lander, our chances of picking up that second land right there, okay. Phyrexian. Spelunking. Desert. Even if we don't draw a land next turn, Map the Frontier will allow us to go turbo. They plotted the railway brawler. And they're going in with value. Can I draw into a land though? Thank you. Because now I go boom, boom. This thing is a problem. I could develop you and I can do that into that. I think that's overall better. How many deserts do we have? We're gonna have 1, 2, 3, -5, -5. Perfect. Let's do this now. Instead of going from map to frontier, change of plans. We go for the free starter lookout. And we're gonna bring in the Restless Cottage. Three deserts, which makes this -5, -5, which is just enough to deal with the railway brawler. I'm speaking too fast. -5, -5. Like I'm trying to get ahead of what I'm saying. They're gonna go for attackers. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. What colors am I missing? I got all the colors I need, so I can just I'm gonna choose one of the colors for Deserts Do allows us to pull another. Still -5, -5. I can do this though. Getting rid of the Jewel Thief, slowing them down as they plot another railway brawler. We draw into more removal. And now it's time to map the frontier. And because we have no lands in hand, Air Archway is going to be pretty amazing here. We're going to get you and you. I'm gonna pick up you. And because we already have all the colors for ATRAXA, we go green. This way, with 2 of these, we can enable the Restless Cottage on its own. Now we bring you back. We surveil that away. We play you. We ping you again. We have a lot. With these 2, we can enable that. That's 3, and that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 5 mana. Which doesn't allow us to do this, but it does allow us to trigger both. No, actually we can. Yeah. No, we can afford this. By tapping our citadels, we get to get this Restless Cottage in for just 2 mana. We're gonna full swing, putting them on the clock. We're gonna target the brawler. We've already committed a crime for free starter lookout. We gotta keep that in mind. Drop them down to 8, and now we pass. One, 2, I mean, we can count here. 5 deserts, -7, -7. Obstinate Baloth, and what we're gonna do... is not be able to play the Colossal Rattleworm. That's what we're gonna do. Obstinate Baloth heals them 4 upon entry. Feral Encounter. Ah, yeah, trophy this. Oh, leave my lookout alone. This lookout doesn't seem like much, but it's actually doing a lot. Yeah, I give him a land here. But I am thinning my deck. It's not just like I'm thinning my deck out of stuff. And the more lands, the better. We just do this. We do this. And you die. And another one. It's just the lands, man. all I need is the lands. Who needs ATRAXA? The Shroom Wizard. Spelunking to map the frontier is nice, but I'm gonna mulligan. I think this is a bait. I'm gonna drop one of the deadly cover-ups, and now I have 3 lands at least. I mean, we lost a lot compared to what we had before. But that's not the right way to approach this. Like, we have mapped the frontier and to breach the multiverse. Like, that's all we need in that regard. I'm gonna develop pit offerings. With no targets, just as a tap land. Doesn't matter. I need to be able to make my play on turn 4, basically. And I have 2 tap lands that guarantee that. Cavern of Souls for Phyrexian. 1 mana down for ATRAXA. Map the frontier will allow us to deal with the other. Okay. They're also ramping. With the Omen Path Journey, they can choose a bunch of lands and then one by one start placing them. As they surveil, they keep whatever it is there. We play the land of our waste and we map the frontier. We have, we need 1 source of, so this will do. Yep. Desist! We desist. Which will destroy all artifacts and enchantments. And if they have ATRAXA or anything like that, they will not be able to cast it. Okay. They return it, but they gave us the opening. They get 5 more lands out of there, but Assassin's Trophy, Colossal Rattleworm, Sunken Citadel, and Map the Frontier. So they get rid of our ATRAXA. Or not. Oh, the cease desist. That's what they wanted to get rid of. Oh. Well, anyways. Any untapped lands? Don't matter. MK. Close to Mythic. Let's do something about that. 3 lands. Removal. The hand could be better, but having these removal options early. 2 deserts to make deserts do. Pretty damn strong. We get the rest though. Ouch. That's Breach of the Multiverse gone, I would assume. Oh. I'm gonna enable my removal in case I need it here. Because they went for deadly cover-up. That must mean that they have back-to-back duresses. Main decking duress and best of one standard is not really smart in my opinion. I mean, it's good here, but there's so many cases in which it's just like dead. I'm not a fan of it, personally. I'm gonna develop you. We'll call that a turn. I'm gonna get rid of that. For 1 mana with... Oh. I'm gonna play Pit of Offerings. They definitely could have removal. So if I play this cottage, I may regret it, but the cottage also allows me to push some damage potentially. So screw it. Nah, they ain't got shit. We're gonna start beating them up with our lands. You want to discard my entire hand? You want to double duress me? I'm gonna select blue in case I can top deck ATRAXA. I gotta preserve this go for the throat. Fortunately, this food is not doing anything in this matchup because they're just focusing on poison counters. God. Are you serious? We actually miss ATRAXA. And like any creature, really. Wow.
Phyrexian life will down rise together.
Damn. Damn, son, wait! Wait! Up! Desert! Kill! Let's go! Whew, okay. Hard hag, if I beat you, I make it a tier 3 diamond. Let's try that, shall we? We have 4-lander, we keep 4-landers. As underwhelming as they may be. We gotta get that 2 mana first, enabling the Bitter Triumph, and then we gotta get to the Deadly Cover-Up. I may use Bitter Triumph with Colossal Rattleworm, potentially. I'm gonna drop the Lush Oasis. That's huge. This could be really huge if this is like a really enchantment-driven deck. This may be a game for the Colossal Rattleworm. There you are. We have a desert. We have 2 deserts, which enable Colossal Rattleworm to have flash. Draw a card with that thing every time. Are you like an enchantment? No, you're a Spirit Warlock. Right, at the very end of their turn, Rattleworm. There's ATRAXA. We're gonna clear that. Call that a turn. The Architect of Restoration. Borrowed Time. I actually want to do this. Do I want to pay life or do I want to get rid of a cover-up? I think I want to get rid of a cover-up. I'm going to discard. The reasoning behind it is because with the Colossal Rattleworm, now I can lure them into that. I can wipe them out. And I can get rid of all of them. But let's take a look at the library. Opponent's hand. They have Circle Confinement. They have all removal. It's all removal. Opponent's library. They have these Hallowed Hauntings. So it's a purely like enchantment deck. With a bazillion different sources of single target removal. It's crazy the amount of removal they have here. But we get to deal with all those and not allow them to come back. We're going to develop you. We have ATRAXA. We have ATRAXA, which means we want white. The Sunken Citadel will be white. And for the time being, we're gonna draw more and more, but I could just wipe them here. Like wipe this, I clear this, this is irrelevant. I deal with 2 enchantments. I could deal with so much more though. Right now the pressure is not unreal here. I mean, they're gonna be drawing every time though, and that's a problem. It's pretty much guarantees that nah, I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go Spelunking. Yeah. And now the I could play ATRAXA, but this is just too good. Look at this. And now we get to play this untapped. And heal. I should have tapped differently. I should have tapped this Sunken Citadel. But now if I destroy that... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with you. I can Assassin's Trophy. That's why I like Assassin's Trophy as a one-off. It just lets me deal with anything. And now this comes back. I can play you untapped. And now, baby, ATRAXA! The I win card. What did I say? Oh, level up! Clean session today. I had a great time. It was fantastic. Now I see why people whine about this card a lot. It's definitely very, very strong. It's just a very powerful value play. But to be fair, like what would 7 drops like? That's what 7 drops are supposed to be, right? Like in a vacuum, she doesn't seem unbalanced at all. It's just that I think it's just a case of like nothing else in standard is at its level for its cost. But she definitely, like, she just allows you to build up tremendous value. And I think, you know, well, many people will say, well, this is just a bad ATRAXA deck. I'm trying to make a rotation-proof ATRAXA. One that doesn't rely on the triple lands. And I think this deck has a lot going on for it, man. You know, you may claim it to be like a bad version of ATRAXA, but it just got me an insane win streak in a session, like, super easily. And it just works, you know, like, and a lot of thought went into this with like the lands and everything, like having just the right amount of untapped lands, because we need that untapped land for turn 3 to be able to play our Lookout or our Spelunking on curve. Like details like that. The Sunken Citadel with the full set of Restless Cottage feels amazing. Also a nice way to enable ATRAXA while being a cave and synergizing with Spelunking. Desert's Dew, just being great value, like super, super reliable removal in a deck like this. It's pretty neat. I'm proud of this one, and I really, really like this one up. I would even play 2 copies of this if this wasn't best of 1, and I was terrified of all the mono red decks, which just forced me to run all these removals. I'm gonna, you know, I am definitely gonna be looking into like some best of 3 videos and gameplay and decks. Because best of 1, we had a good session here, but sometimes it's just like it's not even like the deck's fault. Sometimes it's just like it becomes too much matchup roulette, and you run into mono red and they go first, and you don't draw into your removal, and that it's over, right? And sometimes it can be annoying to record a video in best of 1 because it's so volatile. It is definitely inherently designed to keep you at a 50% win rate, regardless of who you are. So, best of 3 is where the real magic is at, and I'm definitely, you know, I'm just gonna make the content that I want to make. And best of 3 decks take longer to design, but that's why I can't do them every day. But you know, when you play a lot of best of 1, you definitely get that sensation of just like I kind of want to play some proper Magic, not against a bunch of people who are just spamming hyper aggro, and it's not even like a real match, really. Like, I don't know. Bit of a weird tangent to go out in the end, but people can complain all they want about cards like ATRAXA. But man, if you're an aggro player and you want about this, cry me a river. That's where I'm going to end it. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering Arena content. I'm stuttering a little bit. I've been recording all day. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow.